time management in its simplest form, it's not rocket science. It's doing things for the right reason because it's linked to goals or objectives. It's doing things at the right time by prioritisation, and it's doing things in the right order by sort of batching, structuring and things like that. So some people do need to look at their emails all the time because it's to do with work and things like that. But what happens for a lot of people is they do it without thinking about it. They do it unconsciously. So they'll have the notifications on. A message will come up, bing, and then straight away what they're doing then is they've got to go in and do it. They lose focus on what they're doing, and then they go in. And then they find it's somebody saying, you know, I'm having a party on Friday night. Right? So it was actually nothing to do with work whatsoever. And then they come back to it. And then for a lot of people, every time they get an interruption, they think it's just a few minutes. But because of people's concentration levels, you can be concentrating on a task, and then if you break that concentration and go and check an email, it will take you 15 or 20 minutes to get your full concentration back on the task that you were doing beforehand. So that one email that costs you it takes you probably 2 minutes to look at it, then it actually costs you about 15 to 20 minutes in time in terms of focus, in terms of concentration. So I'm not saying don't look at it, but what I do say to people is be in control of it. So when I say to people only check your emails 3 times a day, what I'm really saying to people is, look, set aside time 3 times a day to go in and look at your emails. Because if you go in, instead of just going in 2 minutes here, 2 minutes there, where you don't think that's having an impact, but actually it is, if you set aside and you say to yourself, right, okay, I'm going to check my emails and I'm going to set aside half an hour to do it just before lunch. Then I say to people then, right, so when you go into it, you now know that you've got half an hour now, so you're in control of it and you're doing what you should be doing. Then we can start looking at the emails. Some of them you will be able to answer straight away. I say to people, if you can do it, if you can deal with that email without leaving your chair, without leaving your desk to find out any other information, and it's going to take you less than 2 or 3 minutes, then do it. Deal with it there and then, and it's done, it's out the window. If it's going to take you longer to deal with it, then you need to delay it and you plan when you're going to do it. So that's really the first 2 Ds of what I call my 4D model. So you've either dealt with it if it's within the 2 minutes, or you've delayed it, so you've planned a time when you're going to do it later. The 3rd D is if something's come to you, but actually you're not going to do it, you delegate it to somebody else. So in email term, that's, you know, obviously forward it onto somebody else, but 2 Ds and F doesn't sound as good as 4 Ds. So you delegate it to somebody else. And then my favourite of the whole lot is the last one, which if we can do with so much stuff, is just delete it, get rid of it, because we get so much junk coming in. So that whole sort of thing there about you do have to check them, but it's about you being in control. And I suppose a term that's just come to mind really, it's consciously checking them as opposed to unconsciously doing it, because so many people, and it's not just email, but so many people they'll go into Facebook, they'll go onto Twitter in the name of doing research for their role, and they may well start off doing that, but then all of a sudden half an hour's passed and they're looking at the holiday sites for next year and things like that, and particularly right-brain people. So it's being conscious of what you're doing with it, and that's what I try to get across to people all the time.